Hey everybody, welcome to another model building workshop. I'm Mr. Allen, representing the Community Libraries of Providence from the Smith Hill location. And today we're going to be talking about a few different kits of small anti-tank guns and the like. Okay, this is a Heller kit, an old Heller kit of the Cannon Anti-Char anti-tank gun, 25 millimeter model 1934. And this kit's been around for a while, probably since the 70s. And it's kind of a fun little kit. So it's kind of a vintage box. It's a vintage kit that you can still find these. They're still out there. I'll quickly show you a typical Heller instruction sheet. This side's all in French. There's German and English on the back, such as it is, but it's not exactly, just a bunch of gobbledygook and instructions for how to assemble. You can really get the whole gist of it right here from the diagrams for the crew and the gun itself. Not a whole lot to the kit, really. The gun isn't too bad to build, because sometimes these small anti-tank gun model kits can be really a challenge because there's such small parts to it. A lot of delicate pieces, and this is really no exception, but I didn't find this one to be that bad to build, and there are some that I found horrific to put together. So it's a very small kit, as you can see. So this is the 25 millimeter cannon. As you can see, it's got a nice long barrel, and this was not uncommon to have 25 millimeter anti-tank guns in 1939. And these were used during the Battle of France in 1940, and some of these continue to be used in North Africa and other places. You know, captured versions were still floating around with the German forces. Not a whole lot to this kit, really. There's some small parts, but not terribly hard to put together. Yeah, you can see all the gear that's in there. Generally, these were painted overall green, but I've seen photos that have shown them in other camouflage schemes, such as this one. So I decided to be a little more creative with that one, with the kind of a sand and green. And it comes with a crew. Yeah. Guy about to load a shell into the breech. Another crewman here, kind of crawling. And either the sergeant or the officer here with the binoculars, the French helmets. And I'll include a photo of this thing set up so you can see that a little better. Another one I got here from Heller. Yeah, I can't quite move this too well. I can try it. But this is the Hotchkiss machine gun crew. Now, this Hotchkiss gun was invented during World War I and continued to serve into the World War II era. Comes with a crew of 3. Always found this gun kind of fascinating looking. And it's got the tray with the bullets in it as a strip that are loaded in by the side there. And this diorama base I've had so long that I'm not even sure where I found it at this point. I've had it for a long time. So the Hotchkiss machine gun is kind of an interesting looking thing. And here's the instructions for that, kind of yellowed. And it's a little bit in English, just a little different for the instructions. Because on this side, you can see the gun isn't much. There's not much to this. It's mostly all the crew. But on the back, they do have in English with the diagrams too, so it's a little bit nicer than the usual. But anyway, the paints tend to be listed in the Heller Hotchkiss numbers on these kits, which makes things a little challenging. Sometimes they give you a breakdown somewhere. Yeah, they do. It does give you a breakdown in French on the back. Where's the English? Yeah, they do it in English as well. A breakdown what those paint numbers stand for. One thing that gets confusing with doing the Heller kits with French is when it says khaki, what exactly do they mean? Is it the tan khaki or a green khaki? Because there's more than one khaki color, and just it's good to look this stuff up and find reference pictures, because the uniform tended to be an olive greenish color. So that's the machine gun crew. That was the anti-tank gun, which I believe is also a Hotchkiss. Don't think it says that there, but I believe that is. Moving on, we have the old Tamiya kit of the PAK 36. So basically, all of these guns would have been in use in 39 and 40 during the Blitzkrieg through the France and the Low Countries. And here's your typical Tamiya sheet for the PAK 35-36 anti-tank gun. And this is a gem of a kit. This has been around a long time. It's a lot of fun, and I've done this with kids. It's not too terrible to put together, but as long as the kids are got some experience building some models, I might be able to manage doing this one. So you have a crew with that one. And the assembly instructions are typical Tamiya style. A few good diagrams there. There are some small pieces with this and some fiddly bits here and there. It's not the worst thing. And it gives you options to do, you know, the cannon as such, or you can do it as the rocket launcher, which is what they did to upgrade this weapon as the war progressed, because by 1941 all of these anti-tank guns we're looking at, and I've got one more to show you, that's included in this same discussion, is that by the time they got into invading Russia, these 37mm guns and the 25mm gun just weren't cutting it against most of the bigger Russian tanks. I mean, they worked against things like the T-26, but other than that, the T-34, KV-1, there's no way these guns are going to do anything. That's why this gun, the Germans ended up nicknaming this the door knocker, because that's about all it did. It would just kind of bang on the tank like someone knocking on a door, and that would be about it. So what they ended up doing is upgrading it to make it a bit of a rocket launcher, and now they had something that could do some damage, and again, recycling and reusing old equipment and finding ways to still make it, you know, functional and have some role in the battlefield. There is a scene with this gun in the Band of Brothers series where, you know, they do our characters get, you know, from the 101st Airborne, kind of get hit with one of these. Anyway, interesting scene in the film, in the TV series, I mean. Typical Tamiya box. Got some parts in there, as you can probably hear that. And the painting instructions there, and a little helpful hint if you wanted to upgrade a half-track by adding this cannon, they give you the parts to do that as well. So that's that one. And here's what, yeah, got to glue this thing. So I decided to do it later in the war, with a dark yellow base, with the rocket launcher on it. Yeah. But if you do, obviously, Panzer Gray or paint it for North Africa. I tried this here. And what's interesting, you know, I've seen some of these things in museums. Obviously, the Tank Museum in England has a lot of this stuff you can look at. Of course, it's way over there. For those of you that are here in the States, it's a bit of a journey. But what's been nice for me, being from, you know, Rhode Island and in New England, is that there is the American Heritage Museum in Massachusetts, which does have this, and the they now have that one too, the French gun, on display as well. And they have this one with the rocket on it, which is kind of cool to look at. And lastly, this is what I'm working on currently. This is a Skoda. Yeah, very small 37mm anti-tank gun. And I found this kit to be a bit challenging because those parts are small. Granted, I wasn't feeling terribly well when I put that together, so that may have been part of the struggle with this kit. But this is a Special Armour kit. And this has not been out long. I think this came out around 2018. I hope it says that on the box here. This is yeah, I read that somewhere. But anyway, Special Armour kit. I think it's like a spin-off of CMK models. And this is the Czech 37mm gun. This was used in the Panzer 35T, the Czech tank. This is the gun from that. So the Germans captured lots of these and made use of them because the gun was considered better than the German 37mm anti-tank guns. This is kind of popular for a little while. But again, by the invasion of Russia, these are starting to become of little use. And by 1942, they kind of got pushed away and faded out. Although some allies of the Germans, like Italy, had some of these in use, like in Sicily on the beaches there. So, and they give you some different ways of painting. You know, the Czech 3-color camouflage scheme, although some were captured by the Germans in that scheme and they left them that way for the invasion of Poland, and then later on they painted them gray. And I was looking to do something with this, just to have some kind of a different looking gun in the background of a diorama, so I'm still working on that. Kind of tiny and fragile. This one's got the spoked wheels. They do make another kit with the rubber tires that you could have it being towed on a truck. Hold on, what did I do with the instruction sheet? Give me 1 second to find the instructions to show you something. So here's the instruction sheet, which is a nice full color with some ads in the back for the there's this the tank that has that gun in it. One thing that's really interesting with this is that if you're going to put it in towing mode, it has different legs. The legs kind of fold up upon themselves. I don't know if you can see that there. They don't stay out straight and just get tacked onto the back of a truck that you would normally see. They actually folded the legs up to shorten it, and they towed it that way. So that's an interesting feature. There's very few steps, but I just found for me they're very small parts with kind of small locating pins, things like that. It got to the point where I had an issue with things going. I put things the wrong place, I put things on backwards. I had to literally take the whole model apart and rebuild it. So I would recommend you're really sharp and with it when you put this model together, because it's not really one you can just kind of, you know, have a headache and kind of slouch your way through it, so to speak. I didn't find that was a very effective thing to do, but anyway, it makes for a fun little model. Tiny, considering it takes a while to put that together, considering it's so small. So anyway, it's just a quick look at a few different anti-tank guns, and a machine gun, all from the early Blitzkrieg era of the World War II. And anyway, I should show the parts. Here's the parts tree for the Hotchkiss 25 millimeter. Give you an idea what it looks like. And they mold it in this lovely white color. And you get the figures and their weaponry as well. In typical Heller fashion. All right, that's it for today. So keep on modeling and stay safe, everybody. See you next time.